If you have been asking if healing is real,
stick around and find out that healing is for real, and we don't mean maybe. My name is Tony.
and I am Zane, and we are two witnesses and representatives
Of the miraculous gospel of healing.
Boom!
Bam!
We are Zane Pierre and the excellent Tony Myers.
I'm Tony Myers. I don't know about that one.
We are excellent, dude.
All right. So we got anybody listening?
We have 6 persons on the live right now, 7 persons.
Because I'm not seeing anything in chat. Is that just me?
No, that's not you. It's me too.
Y'all start chatting. Come on. Somebody say hi.
All right, Mr. Hudson is in the house.
No, Tony did not make Zane late. Zane is late always. I have come to that conclusion. Because he's busy doing other stuff.
All of the fanciful works behind us here. That's what caused us to be late, right?
And there, you asked your one question, CJ.
Blessings and
Ross,
much love to
hello,
everybody. And
Ross.
for everybody joining us, please comment in the comment section. Say hello. Let us know where you're coming from, where you are.
Everybody knows it's past my bedtime, right? So if I get cranky, y'all just forgive me already. All right.
All right. So tonight is our actual live Q&A segment. Right? Live Q&A. We didn't post any episodes tonight. We actually doing a little substitution here tonight, where instead of the normal segment, we're doing a live Q&A. So tonight is everybody's opportunity, as per usual, to post your questions. North Carolina in the house. Post your questions, ask your questions, and we are here to answer those questions to the best of our understanding.
Disclaimer, we can choose not to answer. CJ.
Yeah?
You don't know what CJ's going to come up with. Always suspicious.
Always suspicious.
So somebody asked us a question already.
So we have 3 persons from the Miraculous Gospel. 2 persons from your profile, actually. So that's 5. And we have 6 now. So what are your questions here tonight? Anybody? What are your burning questions?
Do, 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 do.
Everybody have one question each?
I got a question for you, Brother Zane.
What's that?
You're in the Caribbean, correct?
Yes, sir.
Supposed to be a warm environment, right?
Yeah.
What in the world are you doing wearing long sleeves?
Oh, that's because I'm in an environment. I'm in a room here with AC at a certain temperature. So It's cold inside.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
Actually,
I was just curious.
yeah. That's a good observation. That's a good observation. When I went in long sleeves because I'm inside with the in a closed environment and the AC is strong.
All right, I understand that.
What's the temperatures like where you are right now? I think you should be in Ottawa.
Yeah, we're in autumn. We're in fall now. Um,
Okay.
I think it's around 60 tonight. Let me see. That's a good question.
All right, all right.
Yeah, it's 63 right now.
63. Okay.
It's supposed to begin cooler at nights now, cooler during the day. So my
You
summer is gone.
you prefer the cold or the sun?
I prefer the heat.
Yeah,
The heat is on.
the heat is on indeed. All right, so you have one question. Let's put that up on the screen. Our one question is this: since Jesus took our sickness, can we call sickness in us double jeopardy?
I'm going to ask Ross to explain that question a little bit. Can you clarify your question? I'm not sure what he's asking. Do you?
I think when he says double jeopardy, double jeopardy is in reference to when somebody actually is penalized for the same crime twice.
Okay.
So basically, I think what the question is here, if I am, Ross, you let me know if I am accurately interpreting your question. You're asking, since Jesus took our sickness, can we say that? I'm assuming that you're actually saying that you understand that Jesus is in us. And therefore, if you are actually falling, if you are experiencing sickness, if this is a form of double jeopardy where the same person is actually suffering the same thing twice. Something like that, yeah? Let's let us know in the comment section.
That to me is a different way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Um,
As a matter of fact, that is kind of the a very Western application of what the Bible, how the Bible communicates it. But based on the scriptural principle, because Jesus' healing is actually based on the law of sacrifice. And the law of sacrifice is basically based on the fact that the sacrifice pretty much reaps death on your behalf. And in this case, reaps sickness on your behalf. And because one can only reap what they have sown once it is reaped, then the person that it is reaped for is set free. So in a way, if you look at it from double jeopardy, in a way, you can say, I wouldn't say it is double jeopardy, but in a way the concept applies because that is because of the law of sacrifice, you have the right to withstand it. You have the right to not tolerate it.
right. Which we have that right anyhow. And that's why I don't have a solid answer for this question. This is a
Right.
good question, Ross.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not, I just, because the problem is because of our beliefs that we can even get sick it's not any other reason, because sickness, the legality of it's done been gone. It doesn't exist. The problem is we still project our beliefs and we think that it exists. And so that's the problem. The whole reason why we get sick is because we think we can. So that's why I'm struggling with this question. I think it's a very good question, and I would take time to contemplate on it. Did you give your final response there, Holy Brother?
Well, the only thing I'll add to that there is, just as Holy Brother Tony is actually referring to. So I'm actually speaking from the perspective of what Jesus' sacrifice did according to that law of sacrifice, right? And so the only thing I'll add to that there in particular is what Holy Brother Tony is actually saying there is 100% accurate, because if you really look at the transition of the biblical storyline, where man technically created a parallel species, and then Jesus nailed the parallel species back to the tree that he got it from, and then resurrected humanity. The Apostle Peter, in his first letter, says that you are a begotten son of the resurrection, which means most of us use the Old Testament saints or Old Testament people under the covenant as a reference point for what you are. But because of the resurrection, you cannot relate yourself to these people because they were a different species. Now, in the Garden of Eden, I don't know if anybody ever pay attention to even when you're reading the Genesis narrative, but you notice that when God created woman, God did not breathe another breath into the ground. Because in their understanding, the ancient priestly understanding of that through the lens of the name, is every breath that proceeds out of God is a different species. It may look the same, but it is not the same species. It's a new species. And so God put the man to rest to multiply his spirit so that the woman could be part of the species, so there'll be one spirit. Now, when Jesus is resurrected, that's a new breath. That's why Paul says that you're a new creature, because a new breath. Therefore, most Western believers, even though you have been trained to view life through Job and all of these Old Testament characters, they had death in their lineage. You never had death in your lineage, because you were born after the cross, after the resurrection. And if Jesus, both before the cross and after the cross, never sowed into the knowledge of good and evil, then technically on a spiritual level, you never had death in your lineage.
Right.
You
or
are
sickness,
alive.
for that matter.
Well, sickness here is an expression of death.
Right.
So what is really causing that is that you have been programmed to think through the mindset of those in the Old Testament, and because you seem to think that you have the same struggles because you're using the same mindset, you're relating yourself to them, when really and truly your spiritual ancestor is sitting on a throne 2,000 years now without sickness in his body. Your spiritual ancestor has his body and it's in perfect health. So by scriptural standard, you are not sick. What you are doing is that in scriptural standard, when you adopt a mindset, because the Christ Spirit is your nature, by scriptural standard, what you do when you begin to function using external things to tell the truth, you really, by biblical standard, what you're doing is clothing yourself with that mindset, and your body begins to reveal what you're clothing yourself with. And so what you need to do is to change the mindset so that you clothe yourself with spirit and not according to the things that you're actually living after. So basically, it's coming back to using the spirit as your. I've said this many times in our episodes. Become exclusive to your spirit. Become exclusive to the promises of God, which constitute your spirit. It is what defines and defines, and it is actually what makes your spirit what it is. So technically, you could say, on a technical note, you cannot say that it's double jeopardy, because for it to be double jeopardy, the spirit has to be corrupt again, and the spirit is not. It is the body that you are subjecting to your thoughts that is causing that, because the spirit remains pure. So it's just the question of whether you're using an external reference point in comparison to an external reference point.
Right. All right. So Jamie is asking, some people do not like certain words. I don't like any Christianese word. Kill all them words, all them cultural, churchy, stupid words that lack context, that lack definition. Get rid of them. Manifest. That word, where's my sledgehammer? All right. Help with opening our eyes to these words. Have your healing, receive your healing, manifest your healing, seize your healing, take your healing. And then down below, he also says, some people say that it is a receiver problem and not a transmitter problem from God. That would be Andrew Womack's teachings. Let me say this. We have different words because everybody has a slightly different perception on healing. And so really, to me, it comes down to you as the listener need to have your understanding of the words. For instance, receive. When you get down to it, that word receives means to take by force. Now, the word manifest, I don't even like, because that's the whole problem. You're waiting for something to happen in your body. That's why people don't get healed, because you're waiting for the healing to manifest. You're looking to your body to tell you you're not sick. Your body will never tell you you're not sick. It doesn't know that. That is why there is spirit, that you believe the spiritual truth. Then you see the result. So I totally dislike that word manifest. It causes you to view it as a waiting thing. I'm waiting for my healing to manifest. No, my healing's already within me. I don't have, and this goes to answer Jamie's question, is a receiver's problem? No, because I have the Holy Spirit. I have already received my healing. The only problem is now I have to believe that, take it as a fact, instead of believing what my body's telling me. So, but we have to understand a lot of these words, it depends upon your perception as a listener and the context that the teacher is putting it in. With me, I try to define what I mean, and therefore you have the context of what I'm trying to say, plus I try to give examples, and Zane's the same way. So, take it away, Zane.
So before I can even respond to this, what does it mean What is the difference between what he's saying with regards to a receiver problem and a transmitter problem? What does that mean?
So what he's saying, okay, he's saying a receiver problem is for us to receive the healing. I don't know if you're familiar with Andrew Womack. He's the one that says, well, it's a receiving problem. And then the transmitting problem, that would be coming from God transmitting to us, I believe is how he's putting it.
Okay, okay. So when he says transmitter problem, basically what he's saying is, for, for the sake of my understanding here, what he's really saying is, he's really asking is it God to do the healing, or is it to you, or is it
Right.
is it responsibility on you?
Right. That's the way I'm taking it.
Okay. All right. So Jamie, if that's what you're asking here, it is a radio example. Okay. All right. So if we use this radio example, and the transmitter you're saying here is God. So let me explain something here very quickly. God's name defines how God functions. God's name means self-existence, to be self-existent and to be eternal. Therefore, if God has given you something, he is going to give it to you self-existently and eternally. That means that you do not receive something outside of God. Whatever he has given you has been installed in you as what you call your nature.
I like that. Installed in you. Like that.
Yeah. Every nature of every animal is God's commandments to that animal. Because God is self-existent, God's instructions are installed within the creature as its nature. So you could say that the nature of the lion is God's commandments to that lion. The nature of the dog is God's commandments to that dog. It is installed in you as a nature. Which means that if you are healed, it's because it has been installed in you as your nature. Now, there's an Old Testament paradigm here, because many of us, we read the. So that's my first point. Let's put that down on the table. The second point is there's an Old Testament dynamic that is referenced by New Testament authors that is not known in westernized culture. Right? In the Old Testament, for God to, when God says something, because he is self-existent, for you to experience what God says, you have to identify yourself with him. For example, if a lion roars and the lion says that you are the most powerful, that you will be the most powerful being, because it comes from a lion, you have to identify with the lion's spirit for what the lion says to be expressed in your spirit. Let me say that again, right? If a lion speaks to you and says that you're going to be something, in the Bible paradigm, you have to identify with the lion so that you, by acknowledgement, by the power and law of acknowledgement, you identify with the lion, and what the lion says, you, in the lion's spirit, will experience what the lion says. Right? The context of this is seen all in the book of Genesis, for example. You'll notice that when people call upon God's name, there's always a sacrifice attached to it. Now, the sacrifice is unknown in Western culture as well, because all sacrifices in the Bible is in response to the garden. The reason why animals are used in sacrifices is because man used the animal as his Elohim, and therefore gave himself an animal identity. So when you sacrifice the animal, it is symbolic of sacrificing your identity to actually be filled with Yahweh's spirit again, which is your original identity. Does that make sense, everybody? Yeah? So when they sacrifice the animal, what they're seeing is all of their doubts, all of their fears, the whole identity, death, the sickness, disease, whatever it is, they see it displaced from the body. Notice I said they see it displaced. Because once they displace it in their mind, they see that spirit in the capacity of the animal on the altar. They no longer identify that whatever is sick or whatever the problem is, they no longer identify it inside of them. And then they will call upon the name of Yahweh, which means that they would literally call upon Yahweh as their new spirit in them. Right? What is called call upon in the English Bible? I speak Spanish and I read the Bible in Spanish too. And in the Spanish Bible, it says to invoke. To invoke means to call upon someone to possess you, to possess your body. The reason why I'm saying this here in particular is to bring you to this one point. God has given this in the nature already. Most of us just continue to believe that the sickness is still in you instead of displacing the sickness from you. When Paul says in the New Testament, for example, that the cross unto those who are being saved is the power of God, what he's doing is referring to the same capacity of the Old Testament, where they would take the animal and put it on the altar and see the animal nature or death and everything that comes with death on the altar, and then they call upon the name. Paul taught the believers to do that with the cross. The cross is not something that you philosophize or worship. The cross is something that you apply. So the purpose of the cross is for you to see even what you see in as your problems, all your fears, all of that. You see that on the cross so that it is no longer here. It's by the power of acknowledgement. You acknowledge it's on the cross and Jesus has breathed it out so it ceased to exist. And then you call upon the name of Yeshua in you, not in the sky, in you.
It's the same reason that Moses raised the bronze serpent. They saw what was killing them being killed.
Exactly. So if you're looking at that, the problem, you could say have your healing, receive your healing, manifest your healing, seize your healing, take your healing. You could say all of those things. Really and truly, if you understand how the cross is applied, that you see everything that is not of God, it is not what God says on the cross, and you no longer identify that it is here, but it is on the cross, and you identify that in your body, you are wall-to-wall Lord Yeshua, then I would go as far as saying that really what you should be doing is accosting the body. Meaning, because your spirit is healing, force the body, or let's say take your healing is basically taking action that arrests the body to line up to the nature of Jesus Christ in you.
Let me give an example of that, because I've got a perfect example. This morning, for whatever reason, I woke up and started feeling like I did 3 months ago. Shortness of breath, all that crap. Right? So what is the first thing I did? I saw it outside of my body. This is not me. This is done. And then I immediately, the first thing I did was grab the vacuum cleaner and started vacuuming.
See that? That's a perfect example right there.
And then I kept going. Now, by the time I even touched the vacuum cleaner, I was feeling great again. But I'm not going to see myself as sick. That's the mistake that I made for those 3 months. It ain't happening again.
Yeah, exactly what Holy Brother Tony just said there. This is to Jimmy. What he just did there was coerce the body into lining up to the spiritual reality. So if Christ is wall to wall and you and Christ is not sick, then start to live or start to take action as though you're not sick, and it's going to force the body to line up to the reality, because technically what you'll be doing is filling the body with the energy to do what Christ would do.
Mhm.
So you could say, I think when you say have your healing, receive your healing, you see, especially receive your healing, that's a term that makes believers defer the responsibility for God somewhere out in the sky to give it to you, and you sit there and suffer unnecessarily. When the concept of you receiving Jesus' name and you are called by his name is that it is your commandment to be healed. It is not a promise. A promise in the Bible is not something that we treat like how we treat promises in our culture. In our culture, when
Right.
somebody promises you, you wait for them to come and bring it to you.
Right.
In the context of the Torah, a promise, the Torah had two phases to it. Israel's side of the covenant, which was things that the man inside of the garden must stop doing. And then once they kept it, the covenant would upgrade them to priests, which means they come back into the garden. And they're not talking about God in the sky. They're taking on the identity of God. And when they take on the identity of God, all God's promises become their commandments. So technically, God's faithfulness is now dependent on the priest taking action upon it and revealing it. That is a commandment, which means healing is not something that you receive. Healing is something that you obey. You obey it. That means if, just like Holy Brother Tony did this morning, he has a contrary feeling that is not in him, is Christ in him wall to wall, so he gets up and he obeys by taking action, and the body lines up to the reality of the spirit.
And let me say this, as far as have your healing part, Jamie, one thing that I say, quit trying to get healed. Notice that. Quit trying to get healed and have your healing and be healed. There's a huge difference. And so most people are trying to get healed.
You're working towards it instead of actually functioning from it.
Right. Exactly right. Functioning from it. In other words, being a victor, not a victim.
Yeah.
And making a choice. That's another way to put it. I chose, I'm healed.
It's a decision. It's like in the book of Job. Now, for those of you who don't know, Job was a priest. And Job says, decide a thing, and it shall be established, and the light of God will shine upon your ways. It simply means that most of us trying to validate that you are healed by what you see physically, instead of deciding that you're healed and taking action and maintaining that action and maintaining that posture so that the body conforms to it. The difference here is, I've heard Holy Brother Tony say it like this before. Most of you want to use the physical manifestation to tell your spirit what is true, instead of actually making decision. Your decision is that you're healed, which means you see yourself healed in your mind, and you tell the body that this is true. There's a difference. You're supposed to be establishing heaven on earth. You're not supposed to be telling heaven what earth's saying.
Right. Exactly. My body is not going to tell me it's sick. It doesn't have that kind of power.
That is not the purpose of the body. The body is supposed to be conforming to the image, not being a source of wisdom.
And that's the biggest problem, is we use our body to convince us that we're sick.
Yeah. Right. So, with regards to have your healing, receive your healing, manifest your healing, see your healing, take your healing, these are different things that people say. And from where I stand, it kind of communicates that you're using the physical body to say what is true.
Yep.
Because if you're healed, then you just get up and take action until the body conforms. That's
And
all.
what is the healed mindset? The healed mindset is I can do.
Yeah. I can do all things.
That's the healed mindset.
Right? So I hope that answers the question there, Jimmy.
All right, who else got? These are good questions, everyone. Jamie
Mhm.
had good question. Rouse, you knocked me for a loop on that one, Rouse.
There we have Sherry Goosery Gentry is here. Blessings and much love, holy sister.
Correct, Jamie. Yes, we're supposed to
Yeah.
see our true nature.
We are supposed to see, our true nature from God. Let me put it on the screen. Yeah. Just like God and decide not to believe the false nature, which is sickness. Yeah. Right. I think most believers struggle with. I think if I'm to be just and fair to most believers, you've been taught the wrong thing.
Mm-hmm.
You've just been taught the wrong thing. You've been taught a Western perspective that is based on you looking for something to validate what God says,
Yep.
instead of treating what God says like a law of physics. And that is the one thing that is not put on into arguments. You could argue the law of physics, but if you step off the building, you will learn very quickly that your argument is nothing.
Splat.
And the same way you're supposed to treat God's word. As a matter of fact, there's something in particular that is not taught in the Western culture. Exodus 15, where God identifies himself as a healer, is the first mention of healing in the Bible, or the first time that God identifies with that name. And that is in that scripture, it defines how healing works. And one of the things that Moses says there in Exodus 15 is that what God says must be treated like a statute. A statute is like an ordinance, a law of physics. It must be treated in a way where that is not something that you question. Everything is actually questioned because of what God says. You don't question God because of what something else says. So you have to treat it like a statute. It's something that you treat. It uses the word statute. It also communicates that it should be treated as an ordinance. Right? And that perspective is the perspective that you act upon. It is not something. God's perspective, or what God says, should never be subject to argument. If you want to live from it, it has to be statute. And most believers struggle with that.
Or the way I used to put it, an unquestionable fact.
It's unquestionable fact, exactly. Unquestionable fact.
The problem is people question the healing because you're using your body as the plumb line.
Yeah.
You're waiting for your body to tell you that you're healed, instead of taking it as an unquestionable fact. I'm healed, so I can act. I can do all things. I can get up and run, and I do it.
Mm-hmm.
In every healing that I've had, that's exactly the way it works.
Yeah. So here's something for everybody to consider as well. The Bible says faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. We read that, we quote it like a poem, and we very rarely stop to really think about what it means in the context of the scriptural paradigm. If faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen, then that means faith starts in the spiritual realm and ends in the spiritual realm.
Mm-hmm.
Faith does not start in the spiritual realm and look for physical proof.
Right.
Faith is something of the will. So, for example, if, and I used this already in one of the recent videos that I did, if somebody tells you that that if you get to the bottom of a mountain, like you have this long road in front of you, and somebody tells you that if you get to the bottom of the mountain, if you get to the bottom, if you get to the bottom of the mountain, you will receive, let's say you receive wealth and riches. You're actually heading down this road, and you're heading towards the mountain. And for some reason, somebody throws a knife at you and it cuts your leg. Right? Would most of you continue, or would you stop? You get a lesion on your leg, stop, put that there. Would you continue, or would you stop?
Respond I would continue.
Section. How many of us will continue? Write in the comment section. Wealth and riches at the bottom of the mountain. Or healing. Let me say healing. When you get there, you'll experience healing. You'll continue or you'll stop. I will continue, right? And for those of you, you could feel free to write in the comment section. You continue going, and you mash some cactus, and then stop and take all the thorns from your foot. Yeah? But you have made up a decision in your mind that you're heading towards to the bottom of that mountain. That's a decision that you've made here. You're heading towards the bottom of the mountain. You continue, you trip, you fell, you graze your knee. You get up and you say, I'm heading to the bottom of that mountain. That is walking in faith. It's will. The feelings are subject to the will. You're feeling, but you've made a decision that you're going to the bottom of that mountain. That is how you walk out God's word as a statute. The will, the spirit functions through the will. It is God that is in you to will and to work, which means you stay to the will. God's word must be your will. No matter what you feel, you function by that. The feeling, the will is always above the feelings. A lot of people, because you're not taught that, you have the feelings above the will. So when the feelings say, you say, well, I'm feeling this. No, God didn't tell you that he will function to you by feelings. The spirit, even Holy Brother Tony would know, and is a good testament as a veteran. He is trained. People say soldiers are trained to function from their spirit, because what you are trained to do is to function from your will. Your body would say no, and your will say yes. You're going.
Yep. It's not a question of feelings at all.
That's faith in action. You continue until it is accomplished. This is how you accept
you can say it's already accomplished in your mind.
Exactly.
I see it as done.
You decide it's decided already.
And so it don't matter what is thrown at you. You're moving forward. Period.
This is how you walk out spirit. Your feelings are always subject to under what God says. It is not above what God says. I hope that makes sense, everybody. All right, so let's take this off of the screen.
Two people will continue. Yes, it's an unquestionable fact that the disease, such sickness, has been crucified. It is dead. It is outside of your body.
displace it. Acknowledge that it is on the cross, and Christ Yeshua is the only person in you. Apply it. Don't just say that, apply it. All right. Any more questions? There's some good questions there. What do you want to say?
CJ said he had a question. He want this way told me yesterday. I'm calling him out. There you go. Here, let me ask you the question. I am CJ stand-in. Holy brother Zane.
Uh-huh.
Do you respect the driver way of driving, or are you a side seat driver? No shots fired at a certain bro, Tony. But I will put it this way. As we've been discussing, it is my way or the highway.
Oh gosh.
It don't matter which seat I'm sitting in.
This sounds like an internal issue. There's an internal issue. So I can't respond to this. This is an internal issue. I need to be briefed on more information.
The information is I can tend to be a what we normally call a backseat driver because when somebody is going super slow, you know, a car is not made to go 5 miles an hour. A car is not made to go 10 miles an hour. A car is made to go as hard as you push that pedal. And to take 10 minutes to go from 0 to 5 is just irresponsible and damages the vehicle.
It's reckless.
So in that case, it's like, the pedal's on your right. Press the accelerator. Take your foot off the left pedal. Now. Or you got a bunch of traffic. When you got traffic zooming, zoom, 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 you don't ease and press the brake and ease. You zoom into it.
Right. Oh gosh. You're like hilarious. You're like hilarious.
All right. So you never answer that question. Go ahead and answer that question.
Well, what question is that? The same question?
Would you are you a side seat driver?
I can't say that I am a side seat driver, but in my understanding, this is just me. I'm not a side seat driver, and if I don't agree, I find my own transport. Right on. I'll meet you at the destination.
All right. So it's good to laugh.
Indeed.
All right. Going once. Going twice. Going 3 times. Any final questions? All right.
CJ is a safe driver, while Tony is a pilot and he flies everywhere. Oh gosh. CJ still there? Or he's gone.
I'd say it's still here.
Okay.
He's probably laughing his butt off right now. He can't type. He's laughing so hard. All right, y'all. So next Friday will be a recording.
Sir.
We'll be back on. There he is.
All right. Love you too.
This past month, if you have not watched the teachings, watch them. I believe it was our best episodes yet.
Mm-hmm.
And Monday we will be recording October's episodes, and then hopefully those will be the best ever.
Right.
So
we are
y'all,
excelling the last episodes always.
be blessed, be healed, and be a blessing.
Boom.
Bam.